My name is Nora. I'm 29, and last month my mother sold the beach house my grandmother left me so my brother could go on a luxury vacation. She looked me straight in the eye and said, "You don't need a house. You have a good job." While he laughed and joked that he deserved a break more than I needed some old roof, I thought it was just another one of her tone-deaf comments until an email from the bank popped up at work. Notification of a six-figure transfer tied to the property my grandmother had put in my name. First, I assumed it was a glitch. Then I opened the attached documents. The sale had already closed. My signature wasn't on anything. My grandmother had spent years telling me that place was my safety net, the one thing no one could take. And somehow my mom still managed to turn it into plane tickets and a week at an oceanfront resort for her favorite child. While they posted photos of cocktails and sunsets, I replayed every childhood memory in that house and every time I'd been told to be understanding and let things go for family. This time I didn't. I called my lawyer. 2 weeks later, one letter went out with 4 words that changed everything for them. You have 48 hours. You probably think your family would never cross this kind of line. Read this to the end and then decide what you would have done where I was standing. When I realized the email wasn't a mistake, I didn't even close my laptop. I grabbed my keys and drove straight to my mom's neighborhood. My hands shook on the steering wheel. I kept telling myself there had to be an explanation. Some error at the title company, a paperwork mix-up. Then I turned onto her street and saw the bright red sold sign in front of the little ranch she'd been bragging about flipping for months. For a second I almost laughed. Everywhere I looked sold signs. Everything moving, changing hands. Except the only thing I actually cared about had been sold out from under me. Ethan opened the door before I could knock, barefoot, phone in one hand, half-finished drink in the other. He was scrolling through photos of himself on a beach, shirtless with that goofy grin. Bright blue water behind him that definitely wasn't Oregon gray. "Hey sis," he said like we were just catching up. "You see the pictures? Bali was insane. I needed that reset so bad after this year." I pushed past him into the living room. "Did Mom tell you where that money came from?" I asked. He hesitated, then shrugged. "It's family money, Nora. You don't even live by the coast. You've got your little downtown apartment with your spreadsheets. Good salary, benefits, all that. I've been drowning. I needed a vacation." My jaw clenched. "She sold the house Grandma put in my name," I said. "My name, Ethan. That was the one thing she left me." The door to the garage opened. My mom walked in still wearing the blazer she used for showings, flyers in one hand, phone tucked between her shoulder and ear. She froze when she saw me. "I'll call you back," she muttered into the phone, hanging up without waiting for a response. "Nora, honey, what are you doing here in the middle of the day?" "You sold Grandma Maggie's house," I said. "No hello. I got the transfer alert. I saw the closing documents. My signature is nowhere." She sighed like I was a difficult client, not her daughter. "Okay, first of all, calm down," she said, dropping the flyers on the counter. "Nobody did anything to hurt you. Your grandmother left that place so this family would be okay. You're already okay. You work in tech. You have savings. You're not the one maxing out credit cards just to keep the lights on and food in the fridge." Ethan snorted from the couch. "Yeah, she's fine, Mom. She just doesn't like it when we finally catch a break." "A break?" I turned to him. "That break was my inheritance. My safety net if the market tanks or I lose my job. It was the place Grandma promised would always be there for me." Mom stepped closer, lowering her voice like she was soothing a child. "Listen, your brother's been in a bad place. Depressed. Burned out. Working nights and still can't get ahead. I'm thousands in debt from helping him and keeping this house. Real estate's brutal. My commissions are all over the place. The beach house was just sitting there. You never visit. Your grandmother would have wanted us to use it to help him. By selling it without telling me?" I asked. "By pretending you had my consent? You didn't even call." She rolled her eyes just barely. "I didn't pretend anything. I used the power of attorney I already had. Remember when your grandmother was sick and I handled everything? I still had the papers. I signed as her agent and moved the funds. It's all legal. It's family. I thought you'd understand." A cold certainty settled in my chest. "That power of attorney ended when she died," I said. "You know that, right?" You can't just keep using it like a coupon that never expires. For the first time, something like fear flickered across her face. It vanished almost immediately, replaced with irritation. You're overreacting, Nora. You don't need that house. You're fine. Your brother needed a break before he lost it completely. I'm drowning in debt. I will pay you back. We'll figure something out over time. Ethan nodded like that wrapped it up. Exactly. We're family. Why are you making this weird? I looked at the two of them, my mother in her blazer, my brother in his vacation t-shirt, and realized they genuinely believed I was the problem. Every time I'd swallowed things as a kid, every bigger slice given to him, every better gift, every he needs it more. All of it landed on my shoulders at once. You didn't just sell a house, I said quietly. You showed me exactly where I stand in this family. Mom opened her mouth, probably to accuse me of being dramatic, but I was already heading for the door. Where are you going? She called after me. To talk to someone who actually respects what Grandma left me, I said. My lawyer. I didn't go straight home. I sat in my car down the street until the engine went cold, staring at that sold sign and scrolling through old emails until I found the one I wanted. From Jasmine Ortiz, subject. If your family ever screws up your inheritance, you know who to call. She'd written it as a joke years earlier after we reconnected at a networking event. Right then it felt like a dare. Jasmine and I met freshman year in a statistics class, back when I thought I might follow my grandmother into teaching. She went to law school instead and ended up in consumer and financial fraud in Portland. I worked with data. She worked with paperwork that could wreck people when they got careless. I hit call before I could talk myself out of it. She picked up on the second ring. Hey stranger. Everything okay? My mom sold my grandmother's beach house, I said. My voice sounded flat even to me. She used an old power of attorney, didn't tell me, and used the money to send my brother to Bali and pay off her credit cards. I just saw the closing docs. My name is nowhere. There was a pause, the kind where you can feel someone switch from friend mode to professional. Do you have the trust documents? She asked. Any will? Anything your grandmother set up? Yeah. Grandma Maggie kept everything in a blue binder. Tabs, sticky notes, labels. It's in my apartment. Good. Grab it in that bank email. Meet me at the taco place on Burnside in an hour. We'll go through it. An hour later, we were in a booth. The blue binder sat between us next to a basket of chips and salsa. Jasmine was still in her navy blazer from court, hair pulled back, eyes sharp. Okay, she said, flipping the binder open. Walk me through what you know. I told her about the email alert, the six-figure transfer, the sale I never signed. About my mom's explanation, the old power of attorney from when Grandma was sick, the insistence that it was fine because it was family. Jasmine mostly listened, pen moving quick across her legal pad as she scanned my grandmother's carefully labeled tabs. Here, she said finally, tapping a page. This is the living trust your grandmother set up. See this section? It names you as the sole beneficiary of the beach house and the investment account after her death. That means once she passed, this trust became irrevocable. Your mom doesn't get to liquidate assets just because life is hard. She flipped to another tab and pulled out the power of attorney. And this, she said, was valid while your grandmother was alive and incapacitated. Right here, termination clause. Authority ends when she dies. Your mom using this to approve a sale after your grandmother's death isn't just shady. It's fraud. She misrepresented her authority to the title company and the buyer. My stomach twisted. So she didn't just cross a line emotionally, I said. She actually broke the law. Jasmine nodded. She used expired authority to sell an asset that legally belonged to you, then diverted the money for herself and your brother. That's misappropriation of trust property. Civil fraud at minimum, maybe more, depending on how far this goes and what the DA feels like doing. But let's focus on what we can control. She pulled the bank email toward her and jotted down the transaction ID. The sale proceeds went into her account? Yeah. The alert showed escrow wiring the funds into an account under her name. I checked mine, nothing. Jasmine leaned back thinking. Here's what we're going to do, she said. We send her a demand letter. It lays out exactly what she did. The trust terms, the expiration of the POA, the sale, the transfer, the use of those funds for non-beneficiary purposes. We give her 48 hours from receipt to either put the full amount into a separate account we control or sign an agreement accepting liability with a concrete repayment plan secured by her remaining assets. 48 hours? I repeated. It sounded harsh and in a dark way satisfying. Why so fast? Because she's already spent a chunk of it, Jasmine said. Vacation, credit cards, whatever. The longer we wait, the more disappears and the weaker our leverage. 48 hours sends a message. This isn't a family squabble. It's a legal emergency. If she ignores it or refuses, we file for breach of fiduciary duty, fraud, conversion, whatever sticks best. We'll ask for the value of the house, interest, attorney's fees. Given her debt, that could push her into bankruptcy. I stared at my grandmother's notes in the margins. Little phrases like for Nora's future. Must protect this. If I do this, I said quietly, I'm basically blowing up what's left of my family. Jasmine's tone softened a notch. Nora, she lit the match when she sold your house, she said. You're deciding whether to stand there and let it burn you, or whether you're going to put the fire out. You don't make this decision to please anyone. You make it to honor what your grandmother wanted and to protect yourself. Something inside me clicked, like a lock finally turning. I'd spent my whole life swallowing unfairness in the name of keeping the peace. The peace was already gone. Send the letter, I said. 48 hours. After that, we go to court. Jasmine gave a humorless smile, pulled a template from her folder, and started typing my details at the top. Good, she said. Let's give your mother and brother a deadline they can't laugh off. 2 weeks later, Jasmine slid a printed draft across her desk before hitting send on the email version. 3 pages of perfectly calm language that cut sharper than any shout. It laid out everything. The trust terms, my status as sole beneficiary, the fact that my grandmother's death terminated my mom's authority under the POA, the dates of the sale and transfer, the amounts, even screenshots of Ethan's vacation post showing where some of the money went. At the bottom in bold, recipient has 48 hours from confirmed receipt of this notice to remit the full amount of the sale proceeds into the designated account or execute a signed repayment agreement secured by current assets. Failure to comply will result in immediate legal action. Once I send this, Jasmine said quietly, you can't unring the bell. Ring it, I said. She clicked send. Certified mail went out that afternoon. My mom got the email first. The next morning, I was at my desk staring at a spreadsheet that might as well have been static when my phone lit up with her name. I let it ring twice, then answered. Nora, what is this? She snapped. No hello. Her voice was high and tight, the way it got when deals fell through and she needed a target. I just got some ridiculous letter from your lawyer talking about fraud and lawsuits. You're threatening to drag your own mother into court. I'm asking you to return what you stole, I said, keeping my voice steady. You sold a house that wasn't yours using authority you didn't have. That's not a misunderstanding. She gave a humorless laugh. Stole? My God, listen to yourself. It's family money. Your grandmother wanted that house to take care of us. I'm drowning, Nora. Do you think I enjoy being behind on every bill? Getting calls from collectors, watching your brother fall apart because he can't catch a break. So you fixed it by committing fraud? I asked. By emptying out the one thing she left me? She ignored that. You're fine. You have a salary, a 401k, health insurance. Your brother has nothing. I've been using credit cards just to keep him afloat. That trip was supposed to clear his head so he could start over. And yes, I paid down some cards because I was about to lose my mind. I did what I had to do for this family. And now you and some stranger in a blazer think you'll scare me with threats. She's not a stranger. She's my lawyer, I said. And she's not threatening you. She's explaining consequences. You have 48 hours to start making this right. 48 hours? My mom repeated, spitting the words out. What do you think I'm sitting on, a secret vault of cash? Most of the money is gone. Resorts and plane tickets don't refund everything. The cards were already past due. I can't just magically give you 100,000+ back by Friday. My chest tightened. Not from sympathy, but from the realization that she expected me to treat that as a given, not a confession. Then you shouldn't have spent it, I said. I didn't force you to sell anything. You chose to. You chose him again at my expense. This time there are laws involved. She went silent for a moment, then shifted tactics. You're really going to do this to your own mother? She asked, voice wobbling. Take me to court. Ruin my credit. Drag our name through the mud. Over what? Some empty building on the coast your grandmother left there like a monument. I am your family, Nora. That girl in the suit isn't. When she moves on to her next client, I'll still be the one who carried you for 9 months. I'd heard that line my whole life, pulled out whenever she needed me to shut up and fall back in line. This time it just made me tired. You used that empty building as your personal ATM, I said. You didn't talk to me. You didn't ask. You assumed I'd do what I always do and swallow it because we're family. I'm not doing that anymore. A text notification flashed on my screen. Ethan. Mom kept talking, but I glanced at the messages. Seriously? You sent Mom some legal crap? You're losing it. You know the money's gone, right? It was barely enough to cover stuff anyway. I needed that trip. I scrolled up over the photos I'd muted weeks ago. Infinity pools, cocktails with umbrellas, expensive headphones in first class. They suddenly looked less like memories and more like exhibits. Look, my mom was saying, I can give you something. A few thousand next month, maybe more after I close the Parker listing. We can set up a plan. I'm not saying I won't pay you back. I'm saying this 60-second countdown doomsday letter is insane. Cancel the lawsuit. We'll handle it like adults. Adults don't hide sales contracts from each other, I said. This isn't a game show. The 48 hours weren't my idea of drama. They're my lawyer giving you a chance before a judge gets involved. If you're serious about paying me back, talk to her. Sign what she sends. Put it in writing with collateral. Otherwise, we go to court. Collateral? She repeated, outraged. You want to take my house now? You want to take the roof over your brother's head? I didn't say anything about taking it, I said. But if you can't pay what you owe, the court will look at what you have. That's how it works for everyone. You don't get a different system because you're my mother. She started to cry loud, ragged sobs that used to shred me as a kid. You're heartless, she choked out. I can't believe I raised someone who would do this to me. After everything I've sacrificed, this is how you repay me. I closed my eyes for a second, felt the old guilt swell and then pass. You didn't raise me alone, I said quietly. Grandma did a lot of the heavy lifting. She's the one who left me something, and I'm finally acting like it matters. If you want to fix this, call Jasmine. If not, I'll see you in court. I hung up before she could answer. More texts from Ethan rolled in. Half jokes, half insults, half guilt trips. I turned my phone face down and looked at the blue binder on my desk, my grandmother's handwriting peeking out. For the first time since this started, I let myself see my mom not as a victim of circumstance, but as an adult who had made choice after choice to get here. She decided my brother's vacation mattered more than my inheritance. Now she was about to find out how it felt when someone finally said no. The 48 hours expired with no word from Jasmine saying my mother had done anything. So I called Jasmine myself. She had another lawyer review the letter, Jasmine said with a tired sigh. He responded that your mother disputes any wrongdoing and believes the sale was within her authority as your grandmother's agent. No offer. No repayment. Nothing. So she's doubling down, I said. She is, Jasmine replied. Which means we're done asking nicely. Next step is filing the lawsuit. Once we file, there'll be deadlines she can't guilt trip or ignore. My stomach turned, but under the nausea was something solid. File it, I said. Fraud, breach of fiduciary duty. All of it. I want the court to see exactly what she did. Okay, Jasmine said. I'll draft the complaint and have it served. But if we're going to war, I want everything: screenshots, texts, emails. Anything that shows what she knew and when. I thought of Ethan's messages, the casual admission that the money was gone and that he needed the trip. I can get more, I said. From Ethan. He knows more than he's saying. Then talk to him one more time, Jasmine said. In person if you can. People are very honest when they still think they're winning. That evening, I drove back to my mom's house. Ethan's car was in the driveway, music thumping faintly inside. He opened the door with a frown. Wow, you're brave showing up, he said. Mom's been wrecked since your little legal grenade. Is she home? I asked. No. Showing a townhouse. Why? Good, I said. I came to talk to you. We ended up in the kitchen, him against the counter, me at the table where I used to do homework while Grandma corrected my math. If this is about you suing Mom, I already told you, he said. It's pathetic. You have everything and you're acting like we robbed you at gunpoint. I ignored that. How long have you really known about the house? I asked. Not just that Mom was thinking about it, that she was actually selling it using Grandma's old power of attorney. His jaw tightened. What does that matter? It matters, I said. You don't just wake up with first-class tickets. She talked to you. He exhaled. She told me months ago she was trying to unlock the house, he admitted. Said Grandma put everything in your name because you're the responsible one, but you don't even live there and don't appreciate what it could do for the rest of us. She said she had papers, that she had authority as Grandma's agent, that it wasn't really wrong, just bending things. I asked if you knew. She said you just make everything complicated, always think worst case. Said she'd handle it and talk to you when things calmed down. Then the sale went through, the money hit, and she told me to pack a bag. He gave a short, bitter laugh. I figured if she was willing to go that far, it had to be legit enough. I'm not a lawyer, Nora. I just wanted out for a week. Did she ever say the power of attorney might not be valid anymore? I asked. That Grandma being dead changed anything? He hesitated, torn between protecting her and himself. She said something like, technically these things have timelines, but nobody checks that closely. He stared at the floor. Title just wants signatures and clean numbers, not a lecture on when Grandma died. She joked that half of real estate is knowing which rules actually matter. I thought she was just venting. The words landed in my mind with the weight of a gavel. You realize that's her admitting she knew it was wrong, I said. She didn't grab the wrong form by accident. She gambled no one would look. Ethan flinched. What do you want me to say? He snapped. That I should have stopped her? Called you? I didn't. I wanted the trip. I wanted a break from feeling like a loser every time I opened my bank app. So I shut up. You happy now? No, I said. But I am clear. I pulled out my phone and opened our text thread. The ones where he'd bragged the money was gone and how much he needed Bali. I'm suing her, I said. That's not a threat. It's happening. If she drags you into it and you stonewall, it'll get ugly. You can keep pretending you were just a passenger. Or you can help fix it. How? He asked. By telling the truth, I said. By giving my lawyer your messages. Screenshots. Anything showing she knew the POA was expired and sold the house anyway. That she told you I'd say no, so she cut me out. If you cooperate, Jasmine can keep the focus on her choices. If you don't, I can't promise a judge will see you as innocent. He sank into a chair, rubbing his face. You're asking me to testify against Mom. I'm asking you to stop lying for her, I corrected. You can still love her. But she made choices that hurt you too. You'll be the one stuck with her mess when she can't get approved for anything. Do you really think she'll start making better decisions if no one ever holds her accountable? He sat there a long time, then looked up. If I send you the screenshots, he said slowly, and tell your lawyer what I just told you, can she keep me out of the worst of it? She can make it clear you're cooperating, I said. That you didn't sign anything and didn't profit long term. But I'm not going to lie for you. I'm done being the only one who takes the hit. He swallowed and nodded. Fine. I'll send them. Not because I'm on your side now. I'm just tired of feeling like I'm in the middle of a car crash I can't stop. On my way out, my phone buzzed. A stream of images and screenshots from Ethan, forwarded without comment. In the driveway, I sent everything to Jasmine with one line. He knew. She knew. Use what you need. For the first time, I didn't feel like the one blowing up the family. I felt like I'd stepped out of the blast zone and handed the truth to someone who knew exactly what to do with it. By the time we got a court date, the story didn't feel like mine anymore. It belonged to the caption on the filings, the docket number the clerk called. Jasmine sat beside me at counsel table with a slim binder of exhibits. Across the aisle, my mom sat next to her attorney, jaw tight. Ethan hovered behind her in the first row, swallowed by a jacket too big for him. When the judge came in and we all stood, my knees trembled once, then steadied. This wasn't a family fight I could be guilt out of. This was a room where facts were supposed to matter. Jasmine started with the trust. She walked the judge through the language like a recipe. As the court can see, she said, tapping a highlighted paragraph, upon Ms. Rowan's death, the seaside property and the associated investment account became irrevocably held for the benefit of her granddaughter, my client Nora Lane. The defendant, Ms. Linda Lane, is not a beneficiary under this trust. She had no ownership interest in the property after Ms. Rowan's death. My mom's lawyer tried to argue intent, that my grandmother talked about wanting to take care of the whole family. The judge listened, then pointed to the page. Intent is expressed here, he said. The beneficiary is clearly identified. Jasmine moved on to the power of attorney. Your Honor, this document granted Ms. Lane authority to act on her mother's behalf while Ms. Rowan was alive and incapacitated, she said. Here, in the termination clause, it explicitly states that this authority ends upon the principal's death. Nevertheless, Ms. Lane used this expired document over a year after Ms. Rowan passed away to sign off on the sale. The judge peered over his glasses at my mother. Ms. Lane, did you understand that your authority under this power of attorney ended when your mother died? Her lawyer jumped in, claiming she wasn't a legal expert, that it was an honest misunderstanding. Jasmine stood. If it pleases the court, we'll let Ms. Lane explain in her own words. On the stand, my mom repeated her story. The bills, Ethan's struggles, my grandmother saying family comes first. She claimed she believed the POA still worked as long as the house was in the trust. I wasn't trying to steal from my daughter, she said. I was trying to keep us afloat. Jasmine waited, then handed her a single printed page. Do you recognize this text message? She asked. My mom frowned, then nodded. Yes. Dated 3 weeks before closing, Jasmine said. I'll read one line. You wrote, technically these power of attorney things have timelines, but nobody checks that closely. Title just wants signatures and clean numbers, not a lecture on when Grandma died. Did I read that correctly? My mom's eyes flicked toward Ethan. I was venting, she said. I didn't mean. Did you send that message? Jasmine cut in. Yes, my mom whispered. So at the time you signed the sale documents, Jasmine said, you knew there were timelines on the authority you were using, and you chose to proceed anyway, expecting no one would check. My mother didn't answer. The silence was enough. Jasmine called me next. I testified about summers at the beach house, about my grandmother's blue binder and the notes that said for Nora's future. I described opening the bank email, confronting my mom, hearing her say I didn't need the house because I had a good job. Jasmine entered Ethan's screenshots into evidence. The bragging vacation texts, the admission that the money was gone, the messages where he repeated my mom's line that I just make it complicated. Ethan took the stand too. He looked like he wanted to disappear, but he answered. Yes, my mom had joked that title companies don't scrutinize dates. Yes, she said I'd say no if she asked. Yes, she knew the house was supposed to be mine. When my mom's lawyer tried to paint him as clueless, Ethan surprised me. I might not know the law, he said, but I knew if it was really no big deal, Mom would have told Nora up front. She didn't. After closing arguments, the judge stepped out, then returned with a decision that sounded less like a ruling and more like a verdict on years of history. He found that my mother had breached her fiduciary duty, misused expired authority, and converted trust property for personal use. He quoted my grandmother's trust out loud, stressing that her plan had always been clear. Accordingly, he said, this court orders that Ms. Linda Lane is liable to Ms. Nora Lane in the amount of the full fair market value of the seaside property at the time of sale, plus interest from the date of closing, plus reasonable attorney's fees and costs. The number he read made my mom's hand fly to her mouth. He added that using the proceeds on personal debts and her son's vacation did not transform this into a harmless family misunderstanding. It remained misappropriation of my assets. My mom's lawyer asked about payment plans, hardship, protecting her primary residence. The judge explained, patient but firm, that if she couldn't pay, enforcement and possibly bankruptcy would follow. Her house, her accounts, her commissions, everything could be reached like anyone else's. In the hallway, she rounded on me, eyes red and wild. Are you happy? She hissed. You just ruined your own mother. I will lose my house. I will lose everything. And it'll be because my daughter decided money mattered more than family. I met her gaze and didn't look away. You didn't lose everything because I went to court, I said. You lost it when you sold something that wasn't yours and assumed I'd let it slide. I didn't make you max out credit cards. I didn't send Ethan on a 5-star trip. Those were your choices. Ethan stood a few steps away, looking between us like he finally understood there was no safe middle. Nora, what happens now? He asked quietly. Now I enforce the judgment, I said. The system does what it does. You keep working. Keep working. Mom talks to a bankruptcy lawyer. We all live with what we did. My mom shook her head like she couldn't process that I was calm. You'll regret this, she whispered. One day, when I'm gone and you realize you destroyed our family over a beach house. I thought of my grandmother's careful notes, of every time I'd been pushed aside because I could handle it. Grandma trusted me to protect what she left, I said. I'd regret it more if I let you erase her wishes because you couldn't stop treating me like an emergency fund. This isn't about a beach house. It's about you thinking my boundaries were optional. Jasmine touched my elbow and we walked toward the exit, the judgment in her bag feeling heavy and final. Behind us, my mother's voice rose into a choked curse. For once I didn't turn back. I'd spent my life orbiting her crises. For the first time, I walked straight ahead toward a future she didn't control. In the months after the judgment, the fallout came in waves. First, the letters. Thick envelopes started showing up at my mom's house from creditors and attorneys, each one another reminder that the court's decision wasn't a bad dream she could outrun. When she couldn't make the payments the judgment required, the conversation shifted from how will she pay to what will be sold. Her house hit the market a few months later. Not with her smiling realtor photo on the sign, but with a bank's logo. The woman who bragged about closing difficult deals became the one being forced out of a home she thought she'd never lose. Ethan texted me the day the movers came. He sent a photo of the empty living room with the caption, "This is really happening." I didn't reply. I didn't gloat. It just felt like gravity finally doing what it always does. My mom ended up in a small rental across town. A beige apartment with thin walls and a strict no pets policy. Her credit was wrecked, cards frozen, commissions garnished. The life she'd built on maxed out promises and borrowed time collapsed to exactly what she could afford without someone else quietly fixing things. Ethan picked up extra warehouse shifts to cover his share of the new rent. DJ gigs became side money, not a way to avoid real work. His posts shifted from vacations and new gear to overtime and cheap dinners with coworkers. We weren't suddenly close, but occasionally he'd send a late-night text that sounded more like the kid I grew up with and less like the golden child I'd spent my 20s resenting. I get it more now, he wrote once. What it means when people say someone always pays. Turns out it was you for a long time. I'm sorry for that. I stared at the message for a long time before replying. I'm glad you're starting to see it, I wrote back. That's your work, not mine. Keep going. On my side of town, life didn't turn into a fairy tale. I still worked my 9 to 5, still dealt with deadlines and bad coffee days. But once the judgment money started coming in through structured payments and seized assets, it didn't feel like a windfall. It felt like something my grandmother had tried to give me twice, and I had finally managed to hold on to. I didn't rush out to buy another beach house. Instead, I sat down with a financial planner and opened an investment account in my grandmother's name. A fund I could grow slowly and use partly for my future, partly for something she would have loved. On Saturdays, when the weather cooperated, I started hosting small workshops in a library community room. At first it was just a few friends who'd heard what happened and wanted to know how to keep their own families from blowing up their finances. Then friends of friends came. Then a few strangers who'd seen a flyer. I covered basics. What a trust is, why you should read what you sign, how to set boundaries around money with people you love. I told them in broad strokes about a grandmother who tried to protect her granddaughter and a mother who thought those protections were optional. People nodded, cried, laughed in recognition. It was the closest thing to healing I'd felt in a long time. A year after court, a therapist the court had recommended for family reconciliation reached out to ask if I wanted a joint session with my mom and Ethan. My first instinct was no. Then I thought about all the nights I lay awake wondering if I was the villain in some version of this story my mom told herself. I made the appointment not for her but for me. In the session, my mom did what she always does at first. She cried. She talked about bills and fear, about feeling abandoned by everyone, including her own mother. She said I'd turned my back on her when she needed me most. For the first time, I didn't rush to comfort her. I let her words sit there, then told my version. In front of someone neutral who didn't know either of us anything, I talked about being the responsible one. The kid who always got less because she could handle it. The one no one thought to protect while they scrambled to save my brother from every consequence. I talked about the house, the trust, the blue binder. About the sick feeling when I saw closing papers without my name. When I finished, my mom didn't suddenly transform into some enlightened, humble person. But she did go quiet. And for the first time she said, "I knew you'd be okay. So I didn't think about what it would do to you. I just thought about how scared I was." It didn't undo what she'd done. But it helped me understand that her selfishness came from weakness and fear, not from a calculated plan to destroy me. I told her I forgave her for my sake. Not because what she did was forgivable in any usual sense, but because I refused to let her choices live rent-free in my head forever. For me, forgiveness didn't look like moving her into my apartment or co-signing her next lease. It looked like boundaries. Holiday texts instead of holidays together. Answering some calls and letting others go to voicemail. Sending her information about credit counseling and then stepping back so she could decide whether to use it. I stopped trying to fix her. I started choosing myself on purpose. If there's anything I took from all of this, besides a stack of legal documents and a permanently complicated relationship with the word family, it's this: love and accountability are not opposites. You can care about someone and still refuse to let them steal from you, lie to you, or rewrite your future to clean up their past. You can honor the people who tried to protect you by finally protecting yourself. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do, even when it looks like revenge from the outside, is to stop being the person everyone assumes will quietly absorb the damage. Maybe your mother has never sold your house to fund your brother's vacation. But if you've ever been the responsible one paying the bill for everyone else's mistakes, you know a piece of this story. If you were in my place, would you have sent that 48-hour letter? Or would you have walked away and tried to forget the house ever existed?